Change your life in just 30 days. This is how you log in for your winter. The 75 Hard Mental Toughness Challenge. And this year we have another Summer Shred program of train 100 days like Saitama and become bold. Meditate and it will change you forever. Are you also someone that tried all of these challenges and either failed or fell back into being your old, unchanged self? Well, then you are in the right place, 'cause I did that too, and then I got sick of doing that and took my time in learning how to actually stick to good habits and changes consistently. So let's dive right in and explore what is actually happening in us when we are creating any kind of habit. Because when we want to change ourselves, we have to change our habits. And when we know how something works, we can use the same thing that was stopping us to our advantage. So, when our body has a desire, for example it is hungry, it sends a signal to the brain. The brain initiates an action towards fulfilling that desire, so eating something. And in the best case, when you have achieved that, you will get all of these good hormones after and feel rewarded. Either that, or you do something accidentally that your brain deemed as good and nice and gives you a good feeling. Like eating something from the ground that was tasty and didn't kill you. Please don't do that. Don't eat something from the ground, that's not a good idea. This is how your brain learns that doing that behavior is great. And if it can do it again, and again, and again, and again, this will form a habit. In our early days, that was awesome and led to us surviving and thriving. I would even say that we have to thank almost everything that we have, from medicine to cars and clothes to that. Because some of us learned that it's a good thing to create something new. It made things easier, gave us a better standing, and led to more survival. But the annoying thing is that we got so good at getting to the rewarded feeling that we get stuck in things that are not good for us. Like scrolling on your phone, although it's not really getting you somewhere. Eating too much sugar, because high and quick calorie foods were once essential for our survival, and still gives us a big dopamine hit. And sometimes even falling into a gaming addiction, because they are literally made for us to do simple tasks and get a rewarded feeling. And no, these things aren't bad on their own. I do enjoy every single one of them. What is bad about it is when we are falling into a cycle and starting to feel like we need these things, and then needing more and more of it to get the same effect. Basically, when they become a habit. Now, what these challenges often do is trying to force a new habit on you or force you to stop the old ones. Which, yes, it can work. For some it does. And especially to get into something, it can be a fun start. But I found that these challenges are most often too hard and just not long enough. And when they are over, one kind of doesn't quite know what to do with themselves. Often people tend to not really have a plan and start doing things wishy-washy. So skipping one time here and there and then falling off completely. It was like that for me at least. And I needed some time to understand what really helps me change in a, for me, better direction long term. But as always, before I dive into the things that helped me, I need to mention that everyone is and needs different things. Everyone starts from a different point. And just because someone tells you that meditation or journaling will solve all the problems in your daily life, that might not work for you. However, if you have something that you want to achieve or stop, because you are seeing how much it interferes with your life if you don't, then I hope to be able to give you some direction in how to do that. And the first thing I want to share with you is to create a habit, you have to start to stick to it. I know, not obvious at all, but stick with me. No pun intended. So, first, define the habit you want to create. For me, it was washing the dishes in the evening, which I really hated washing the dishes. And honestly, starting is the hardest thing. However, if you manage to start and then push through, but it felt so bad that you just hated everything about it, it will probably give you more dopamine to not do it the next day. So try to make it as pleasant as possible. It doesn't have to be fun, don't get me wrong, but just so little unpleasant that it takes you less power to start it again next day. In my case, that could be, for example, just washing one dish in the beginning, listening to music or watching something while doing it, getting a fun sponge and good smelling dish soap. And some people like to use gloves. Not me though. I hate the feeling. What also helped me tremendously in sticking with it was habit stacking. It still helps me on days where I really don't want to get up and do it, which still happens. But I want to be in bed by 10, so if I don't start my evening routine on time, I will not get enough sleep and feel bad the next day. It's not always the most positive motivator, but it does work on days where I have no motivation. And as soon as I start the first dish, the habit kicks in and it gets a lot easier. So now you are kind of in the middle of it. How do you stick to it long term and maybe even progress? First of all, keep in mind that the lowest thing you do towards that thing is still something. Better clean one pan than nothing. And better be 10 minutes at the gym than never leaving the house. The second thing that helped me a lot was the 2-day rule. Never skip something for 2 days in a row. And if you did for some reason, you should always try to get back in as fast as possible. The third thing that is a bit weird, but also helped me a lot, especially for cleaning habits, is treating your tomorrow self as someone different. Because if you're like me, doing something for other people is a lot easier than doing things for yourself. And I do know how happy I am in the morning when the kitchen is usable and the pots and pans free. Hi me. Hi me. Now you are slowly creating a habit and can build up on it. Cause latest over some time you will see results and get that reward feeling. And then your brain learns that it is actually a good thing, and as it gets easier to do something, you can increase it. And what I mean by that is stacking another habit on top, for example. In this case, I started wiping the counters after I washed the dishes. Also, something I really have to stress is that a habit doesn't have to be fun. I know this is a common theme, but I feel like when you have such a high expectation, it is harder to build up a habit actually. As long as your day isn't filled up with just unpleasant things. So please be careful not to overwhelm yourself. Take one thing at a time before we get to the point of how to get rid of bad habits, and thus becoming the selves that we really want to become. What I hear most is to make the habit you want to quit as unpleasant as possible. And while that is a tactic, it didn't actually do too much for me, because it was still easier to procrastinate with working around that unpleasantness than not doing the habit I wanted to quit. Or I just couldn't find a way to make it unpleasant enough, I guess. But if it works for you, you do you. What helped me in those cases was for one to try and rather change that habit a bit, but also to not forbid myself these things. With scrolling, it helped some people to read a book instead, for example. And what I also have seen some people do is to combine the habits you want to get rid of with some you want to do more of. For example, watching your favorite YouTubers at the gym with headphones, maybe. Or you can scroll as much as you want, as long as you are outside. You know, stuff like that. Depends what you want to do and what you want to get rid of. In the end, if a habit you want to get rid of is sticking too harshly, I'm afraid there is no way than to find out what its actual desire is and how you can soothe it otherwise. Very classically can be that food is soothing your stress level, games help to escape, and reading outrageous Twitter... X stories can distract you from your own issues. Changing yourself should always be an endless marathon and never a race. Also keep in mind that failure is important and necessary, because you can always learn something from it, even if it feels completely unnecessary. But anyway, thank you all so much for watching. I hope you got at least something out of it. I would love to hear if you have any weird ways of sticking to habits or getting rid of them that have helped you. Also, if you like stuff like this, please consider subscribing. And now, have a wonderful day and keep being awesome. Bye. Bye. Bye.